Hello and welcome to an Elseworlds a DC fan podcast, a special presentation. My name is Chris. Today we are Chris squared because normally it's Jordan and I, but we have the one and only Chris Evans coming back on the show. So, Mr. Evans, how are you?
I am doing great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. This day was a bit annoying,
Hmm?
but um, it was okay. Yeah, ultimately you get through it, and we've got a movie to talk about, so there are definitely an interesting conversation that we're gonna have. Joker Folie Deux,
Hmm. That's the good
polarizing movie,
one.
box office failure. Whether you think it's failed cinematically or not, it definitely was catastrophic for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
They're you know it's so catastrophic for Warner Brothers that it's actually catastrophic because most of the time they have a mess that they're like, oh, this is just a Wednesday for us. But no, this one really screwed up. So we have an interesting movie to talk about, but one that wasn't well received by the general audience.
I think the failure of this movie will be talked about for years to come. And I don't even want to say it's a cautionary tale, but it kind of is. There's so many moving parts to this thing, and there's so many think pieces of why it failed, how it failed. And it really, there's no one explanation. It is because now actually I'm glad that we're doing this a little bit further removed from the release date because we have so much to kind of look at.
Hmm.
It's a whole different beast than just a standard, well, I liked it or I didn't like it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I wanted to have this show close to the opening weekend, and then I ended up having a tough schedule, and then I didn't get to the theater till the Tuesday after it came out. And by the time I saw it, I realized there was absolutely no rush.
Hmm.
And actually, I think what you said is right. I think it's good to kind of stand above I don't want to say the Joker gas, but let it all kind of dissipate because
The gas is
it,
settled.
yeah, it really has. And I mean, this movie's going to be able to be streamed by the end of the month. And that tells
Hmm.
you everything you need to know. That is the greatest indictment of a film a studio can have. And 45 days isn't that long. And DC's just like, let's go.
Pull the plug.
So, yep.
Smiles coming, Venom's coming, pull the plug.
Yeah, no one's coming to see this movie, and I don't I don't want to give away too much of my high level thoughts until I hear yours. But what were your high level general thoughts? And by the way, guys, we're gonna do spoilers. Um, if you weren't in a rush to see it, that's fine. If you're thinking maybe I want to see it, but I don't think there's much to spoil of this movie. Nothing happened. Um, did I say that out loud? Uh,
You're
but
gonna spoil the Optimus Prime cameo.
yeah, Batman showed up, right? No.
Oh,
All
would have liked that.
right. So, so yeah. What were your general high level thoughts?
Hmm. So this is a tricky one. I didn't like the first one at all. I have been on record saying I actually hate the first one. And so going into this one, the only thing that really got my attention was Lady Gaga as Harley, and I like the musical part, or the idea of the musicals. And those coming out of it were kind of the things I liked about it. I don't hate the movie. I don't love the movie. I'm somewhere in between. Like I said off air, there are people who like this movie more than I do. People who like it less than I do. I'm firmly in the middle, leaning more toward positive because of a few aspects. Mostly, Joaquin's performance I think is wonderful again. That I did like in the first one as well, even though I don't like the movie. But Joaquin's performance is great. There's some scenes that I just really enjoyed. I like the musical parts mostly. I like Lady Gaga mostly. but I don't ever need to see this movie again.
Yeah, I'm never gonna see this movie again. I can assure you. I actually didn't even think it was a good film.
Mm.
Um, I walked out of the movie and my first sentence was, that was pointless. I really wanted to like this film. I kind of was interested with the first one. The first one at least stuck with me and I thought was thought provoking.
Mm-hmm.
This did not provoke any thought. And there's so many people on the app formerly known as Twitter trying to tell me that I didn't get this film, that it was making a great point. I don't see it in there. I thought it was horrible. I thought that it was dreadful. The first 15 minutes of this, I looked at my phone and I was like, oh my God, it's only been 15 minutes. I'm sorry. It just, I could not stand. And at that point, it was bleak,
Mm-hmm.
filled with absolutely no signs of the Joker, no laughs. He's medicated and he's just like, and it's hilarious because the Joker that I think of when I think of the Joker says, "Oh, please give me the medication. It won't do a damn thing." The Joker that I think of gets Scarecrow's toxins in his face and says, "Oh, you thought that would work on me?" That's the Joker that I'm kind of ready for. And I know that's not what we're doing. It's not like a comic booky Joker, but this in no way had anything to do with the Joker. In fact, it got so bad that the guards asked Arthur if he had a joke every time they would see him. And the Joker has never told a good joke in his entire run as being the Joker, which is part of the gag. I just, oh God,
Mm.
I could, as a DC film, there was nothing. There was no DC element to this. It was Arthur Fleck. It could have been called Arthur. It could have been about anybody who killed five people on one day. I it could have been about anybody that killed five people in one day. It had so little to do with the Joker. I thought Harley Quinn was wasted in this film, and I agree with you. The musical acts were the best part of this. And they didn't even give me that much of that.
Mm-mm.
So I what I enjoyed from this film, I got so little of. It was like a steak that's overcooked, but kind of has good
Seasoned well.
flavor. Yeah, it's you're disappointed, but you sit through it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to make a scene. You're not going to send it back, but you're sitting through it, going, "This isn't what I asked for," and that's how I felt about this film. So I wish I liked it. I really do because I kind of liked the first one.
A few thoughts that I have about that. I'm with you. This is not the Joker, but also I feel like they go out of their way in this one to drive that point home. He's not the Joker. Whereas in the first one, I think they wanted us to kind of believe he becomes the Joker by the end. So to me, that was counterproductive right off the bat. Like, oh, at the end of the first one, call me Joker. I'm the Joker now. In this one, I'm not the Joker. I'm just Arthur Fleck. You could have called both of these movies Clown. Clown 1, Clown 2. It would have been fine. Um, and I think that is a driving thing with this movie, though, because I want to say that there are fans who expected this one to lean more into the character, and it does not at all. It actually goes the other way in some situations. Although I do feel like when he is in the makeup, there is the personality. It's there. And I've
But
always
it's
thought
different than it was in the first one.
it is. It is different. And I've always thought that Joaquin Phoenix would have been fantastic as the real Joker before he was cast for this thing. I always thought, man, if you put him with the green hair and the makeup and a purple suit, that would be iconic. And in a way, I know he's got an Oscar, but I'm kind of sorry he's wasted with this.
Yeah, I I didn't even like Joaquin Phoenix's performance that much because I think it's what he was asked to do. The villain of this movie to me is Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips kind of and what we're fans of this stuff. We podcast about it. You have gathered in the Geeks and DC Unlimited. I do it on Elseworlds. We follow this stuff and we pay attention to the news. And everything I heard about this film coming, I was just like, I don't like what I'm hearing.
Mm.
I don't like what I'm hearing. There is at no point was I confident in this film. Excuse me. I remember talking to Jordan on the show saying, the second we heard about the budget and how much money they were throwing at this, I was like, they lost the thread. Because the first one was just, it was practical filmmaking, it was character study, it was cheap, and I was like, cool. I would be down for more of what you started with the first film, but you didn't even give me that, and
Mm.
at no point did you give me what I asked for. The most confusing thing about this movie, there's an explosion of the courthouse in this film. And Todd Phillips finds a way to make that as boring as the rest of the film. I I, I'm so angry. I remember I was like, okay, cool. Something happened. Well, it's just two random Joker like inspired people that
Groupies.
have no organization whatsoever. That the police are so like they're in this car and it's like, come on. And then he goes to the stairs and Lee is there. Harley is there. And she's just like, you let me down. Bye. See you later.
Mm.
I don't like Arthur. And
No one likes Arthur.
and it's like, but it's like, and he just you just see the cop cars at the bottom of the stairs, and then you see him driving off, and you're just like, that could not possibly. That was supposed to be the crescendo of the movie.
Hmm.
Nothing noteworthy happened. It was like, at least in Cool Hand Luke, when he's smiling in the cop car, and it's like the point. There's a point to it. This is just like, what the hell was the point? Honestly, if you take the explosion out, it's the same film. And I've never been able to say that about an explosion of a courthouse wall in a film.
I I didn't mind that part as much. What I had an issue with was the stair thing because it was so anticlimactic. And why is she even standing on the stairs? What is she doing there? Why does she have? And she has a new look. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, what are we doing with it? Oh, we're doing nothing with this. Got it. And also, like
Yeah.
the Harley Quinn character herself, though, was so oddly used. I mean, for a lot of the movie, she's basically a background extra.
Hmm.
A lot of her stuff was cut. Even the original ending with her was changed. That's not how the movie ended originally.
I'm so glad it ended that way. I was like, literally, we'll talk about the ending, I guess. When we got there, I was just so glad he was done. I was like, you can't have a Joker 3 now. Great.
Yeah. That was kind of one of my things. Like, okay, cool. This has an ending. Although I do like that actual part of the ending. But like have you seen the video of Lady Gaga, the original ending?
No, I had not. I was so turned off I didn't even care about it. But I guess elaborate what that's about.
So the original ending apparently was Harley kills Arthur on the steps there.
Oh, that's worse.
I actually prefer that. I
Hmm.
kind of like that better. That Harley is the one that does it because Harley is now her own persona, which explains the costume change. So I
Ah,
wouldn't have mind if Harley was the one who just shanks him. Also, to me, thematically, it would have made more sense because, oh, you don't want to be this persona everybody loves? Well, guess what? I can be that. But we
yeah,
didn't see enough of her, I think, for that really to hit.
yeah. They didn't earn it. That's why I think it would be worse. I agree with you. They did not earn that. I thought the most interesting scene. with Lady Gaga was when she starts the fire and they're kind of on the loose, and you have that really awesome musical number
I
like
actually hated
going
that
there.
scene.
And that's the beautiful part about this movie is that your favorite part wasn't even good. Um, no matter what it was. Sorry. Uh, my favorite part, that part wasn't even good, but it was the most alive the movie felt because
Hmm.
the movie felt dead. The movie, the movie was like if you were on a heart monitor, it's literally just bump, bump, bump. It had no action whatsoever. And I was fine if it had a point, if it was a character study, or if it was about society in general. It made no points. It delivered on no points. What was the theme of this movie? What was the thesis of this movie? It was all over the place.
Yeah, and I can agree with that too, because I think as much as I don't like the first one, things happen in it. There's a sequence of events that takes place, whereas this is kind of like a courtroom drama that they didn't want it. They didn't want it just to be a courtroom drama, so they had to put all this other stuff in it, and I don't think it fits incredibly well. And then when it gets to the musical parts, some of them are cool, like the elaborate set pieces. Those are cool. But when like you mentioned that Arkham escape thing, that just didn't work for me because I didn't even understand what they were doing. Are they? She's just yelling at him while they're outside, basically.
Well, and then her backstory ruins the whole Harley thing for me. Her backstory
Yeah,
just it's like and then Joker is all upset that he got lied to and that he basically had a conjugal visit with a liar basically and it's just like and that scene was so weird like I want to wipe that scene out of my memory.
it was
Oh
bizarre. I didn't
no,
like
it's
that
like
scene
I want to
either.
see the whole you. I want to see you. I don't want to see Arthur. Put the makeup on. She had to have sex with Joker. Like and like I was like and and I couldn't tell if Arthur was into it or not. I
I
I
don't
just
know.
I
I
don't
have no
I
idea.
don't know that I want to know. It was just bizarre. Like if there was ever a more lifeless quote unquote love scene in a film, I I just I don't know what they were going for, man. And
I, I
I don't get it.
from one of the things for me that bugged me about the Harley character specifically was the origin thing. Like they completely glossed over. Oh, she lied. That's fine. It was so weird the way they handled. Like, wouldn't Arthur have been a little bit more upset that she lied? And then you mentioned she wanted the Joker instead of Arthur, and people keep saying, "Well, it's a commentary on society and how we're in love with psychopaths and all this other thing." That's cool. You can have a commentary, but the movie needs to be entertaining to support your commentary. You can't just do commentary and then give me nothing.
So it was thin commentary though. So that's the thing. So if you were writing if this movie was an essay, I would tell and I was grading this essay as the teacher because I'm in school to become an English teacher. So if I'm grading this essay, I'm saying I need more supportive sentences around these quotes.
Hmm.
These examples of the film have no meat to them. I need something that makes them relevant. Why did you put this in here? I'm still not sure. That's my problem with this film. I don't think the fact that they have this little getaway scene, and then it turns out she could just book herself out of the mental institution anytime she wanted to.
Which is weird in itself, considering she did set a fire. There was no repercussion for that, I suppose, no
Yeah,
consequence.
I mean, apparently there's no cameras.
That too.
I, I don't
Which I get, it's
understand
a
it.
time the time period. Maybe they didn't have it, but still.
So I kept trying to guess what the point they were trying to make in this movie. Like in the beginning, when they had the four umbrellas with color and they're all got the umbrellas, but Arthur's uncovered. I thought, well, maybe that's a commentary about how we're all different and the lowest of us get rained on or something like that, or the unimportant people.
Not all of us
And,
are umbrellas.
right. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, okay, but they really didn't make any points to like support that. So I was like, so that's not really what they were doing. That was just Todd Phillips being like, I'm gonna put some color in here for no reason. Yeah.
Hmm.
One's red, one's yellow, one's blue. I mean, he could have been Dr. Seuss for all I care. I I wanted to like it, man. I can't find one thing I like about it.
I, when I was watching it, my biggest issue as I was watching it was this feels insanely long. Like
Hmm.
that first hour felt like a 4 hour, like realistically a 4 hour film, just the first hour. And then there's a certain point, I think, when they hit the courtroom, where that's when I was more engaged with it. But that first hour is rough. Well, it
Yep.
was for me anyway.
I got a medium popcorn and a medium icy. If I had known that I was going to need them for enjoyment, I would have gone large and large. Because once that entertainment value was done, I was like, all I got is the movie.
Though I think the concept of it isn't really the problem because for me anyway, because I like the idea of okay, Arthur is trying to get out of Arkham. That's the goal here. Get Arthur out. And you go through the motions, is he the Joker, is he not the Joker? Fine. But the core idea there is cool to me because we've in comics we don't really see the Joker side of things when he's in Arkham. So I thought, okay, maybe they're doing something different. Like we get to see what that would be like if he were real. But that's
Yeah.
not even, they dance around it so much, literally in some cases, the musical bits, you don't really get a good sense of it. And then there's that one scene that I thought was really, really good with the reporter visiting him in the hospital there. That was a cool scene, but it gets glossed over like everything else.
Hmm.
We don't even return to the idea of it. We don't see what this performance on camera did for him because he did the exact opposite of what his lawyer told him to do.
I was a little confused in this movie, and I don't know if that makes me dumb. I was a little confused about the Joker TV movie. Was the thing little animated stinger in the beginning the Joker TV movie, or was that
No,
just unrelated?
that was
Okay.
just Todd Phillips saying, "Hey guys," because I actually didn't like that at all. The
I
animated thing.
I thought it was like so outdated even for the time period it was supposed to be in.
Well,
I
like the Birds of Prey movie that had the animated opening,
but
but
it was kind of good.
it was good and it actually had a purpose. It caught you up until this point.
Right.
Whereas Arthur's thing, it introduces a concept we don't really see. It basically that he's in the shadow of the Joker, but he is the Joker, this Joker, we should say. So they're not two different people. It is him. So it really didn't make sense. With much like the title, it doesn't fit the movie.
Yeah.
The title really doesn't make sense if you think about it because they're not sharing a delusion.
No, in fact, Joker is or Arthur is rejecting the delusion.
Arthur is essentially like trying to forget that he is the Joker in a way. Except, toward the end he embraces it, of course, but there's that point where he's rejecting it, and there's no like. When I heard the title, I thought, okay, I guess this means maybe it's from her point of view as well, and that's what these musical things are. But again,
This
that's
should have
not
been
what it
called
is.
Arkham Learned Helplessness.
I think it should have been called Clown 2.
It would have worked. You're right. It would have worked. Uh, I saw a really good meme that was just a Joker dancing on the stairs, and it just said Arthur.
That's what it should. You could even call it Arthur, yeah. Or you know what, Art the Clown. That kind of sells right now.
Yeah, I I would say the saving grace of this was the musical numbers. The Joker is Me
I love
was
that one.
probably the biggest one. but even that seemed toned down to what you would think in like a musical. Like this, calling this a musical is giving it too much credit.
Um, I don't know. I've seen both sides of that argument. I don't really know where I would fall on that. I feel like in a musical, the musical pieces are to push the story forward, whereas these are more like um, separate pieces from reality in a way. They're delusions. That's what they are.
Mhm.
They don't actually push the story, except maybe the Joker is me because that's when he does embrace that he is the Joker. But then he reverts back to just being miserable old Arthur Fleck in those final moments anyway. So I don't know.
I think expectations buried any chance I had to like this movie.
Hmm.
And I want to admit that because I think it's fair. Like I don't think it's fair to just say, well, because it's not like I just watched a movie that had nothing to do with DC. It just like it was supposed to be Joker and it was supposed to be Harley Quinn. They just went out of their way. Like they even called her Lee. Like they went out of their way.
Yeah, I, and I'm sure you've seen Todd Phillips' comments about these things. It's like
Hmm.
you literally are admitting you just used the names to sell a ticket,
Yep.
and you thought you were smart for it. And hats off to
And
him for
somehow he
trying
wasn't
it.
shallow for it.
Right, like hats
He
off,
was
cool
artsy.
filmmakers. Do what you want to do, but and I've been saying this a lot lately. We need, or not we because I can't, but these studios need to stop hiring people who don't like comics to do these movies and use their characters. Because now, this is just my opinion again, when you put the Joker in something, they might think of this. And they might go, well, that was the Joker and I didn't like that. Or Harley, that was Harley, I didn't like that. You're putting a negative spin on your brand, and for what? This movie's
You
not
know,
going to get Oscars. The first one did.
it's funny. My dad's wife, Paula, she said, "Oh, I don't really like superhero movies." You know what
Hmm.
she based that off? Michael Keaton's 1989 Batman movie. She saw that, said it was a little campy, a little silly. She didn't really like it, right? She just didn't watch the other ones, right?
Yeah,
And now it's funny because they're going through the MCU and they're like actually enjoying it. And I was like, I told you there were other flavors out there. Like I told you there are other flavors out there. But like you raise a good point. People will have a bad impression from the from a movie like this. They're like, that wasn't really for me. And
it's
I
good
hope
that I
that
guess
doesn't
nobody
happen
saw
for
it.
DC. Well, yeah, you
Maybe it's better.
somebody saw it.
Maybe
10
it's better.
people.
Yeah,
We
those
were
10
two of them.
people, they're soured. But
Oh,
but also though, and I'm not saying don't do takes. Do takes. Do what you want to do.
yeah.
But get a director and a writer who like these characters. That's all.
Well, Matt Reeves and James Gunn are both perfect examples of people who are into the source material,
Yeah.
people who, James Gunn says he's a custodian to these characters. Matt Reeves, grew up a Batman fan. It makes a difference when you have people who are involved. I mean, Marvel's always given you adaptations, and sometimes some have been better than others,
Sure.
but for the most part, they're adaptations that like live in the world they're supposed to. You know what I mean? This doesn't even work with any version of these characters. And we just saw Cape Crusader do Harley Quinn take that was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's different. But it's still the essence of what you're trying to do makes sense. Um I I could not I don't want to discredit Lady Gaga. I think she did what she was asked to do.
Mm-hmm. She's great for what
Um,
it is.
yeah, but why would you ask her to do that? That's my problem.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that because leading up to this movie, I had like a feeling, okay, she's gonna be a definitive version of Harley because I like Margot's, but we're missing the villainous element from her, and that really sticks with me. So I figured, okay, we're
Mm,
gonna get that here, and I know Gaga can act. This is gonna be something special. I walked out thinking that wasn't even Harley, which expectations we should have known that from the way it was marketed, the way what we were told.
Yeah.
But you still go into it thinking there's going to be something from the character here,
But the
and
marketing
even I think
material was the red, black diamonds and the
that
eyeliner.
yeah,
And you're like, that's a cool look for Harley.
right, that they're keeping something cool,
Yeah.
but and then like even to say okay, you separated from all the DC stuff, does it work as a movie? Not really to me. Like, cause I
I
can
thought it
put the
was a
DC
bad movie.
stuff aside.
Well, look, if the first Joker movie was supposed to be like a rip on Taxi Driver kind of thing, like King
Yeah,
of Comedy, like their inspirations were all over the film. And if you had told, you go in there, if you had told me it had nothing to do with DC, I mean, I would have been like, but there's stuff I could pull. There's stuff I can play with here. You're in Gotham,
the Waynes.
there's, yeah, honestly, it's so bad that was probably the worst thing the first movie did, but it would have saved this a little bit.
I don't know. I think for me, like I said, I didn't like the first one, but I think it introduced some ideas that I wanted to see pay off here, and I thought they
Mm,
would have paid. Not so much Bruce, because I knew that wasn't happening.
right.
I knew there was no Batman, but stuff like him actually embracing the Joker persona and where that takes him. Because the last shot of Joker One, if I'm correct, is him like running through the hallways of Arkham, and he's happy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And then
he had just
here,
killed. There's blood. There's trail of blood.
yeah, in this one, it starts with him just miserable in his underwear again. How did we get here? Also, this Arkham looks more like the animated series, the Batman Arkham,
Yeah.
whereas in the first Joker, Arkham just kind of looked like a hospital. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I feel like we missed a chapter, or they just didn't care. I really think Todd Phillips just said, "Oh, you guys can give me some more money to make this. Cool," and that's fine.
He
Just
took the check. I think
yeah,
everyone took the check. I actually don't think Joaquin Phoenix was that good in this film. I don't. First off, who told the man to get that skinny? That's just disgusting. I was like, I was uncomfortable for him.
yeah,
I
it
was
is
like, can someone
uncomfortable.
get this man a burger? Can someone get this guy a protein bar? This is uncomfortable. So, but then on top of that, I thought it was completely without energy. Even his Joker voice was weird in the courthouse. It just seemed like it came out of nowhere.
I love that
It,
when he was like Foghorn Leghorn. I loved it.
it was that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way. Well, you don't think this is me? I'm like, you don't think I'm Joker? Like, okay.
I
I guess
actually,
I would say Lady Gaga gave me more than Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't think she gave me that much. I think her performance was stronger.
or she did have a strong performance. Just that I don't think there was enough for her there. Like I really think if we would have had more in this movie and less him, or maybe an equal amount, it would have helped. Because, like I said, she's a background actor for a lot of these scenes. She's just in the courtroom. But
I
like
wanted
when
them to get out of the courtroom and cause some trouble.
I was
And
hoping they
it's
would.
and poor me, little film guy who just doesn't get it. Poor me, not highbrow guy, just wanting some comic book action in a comic book film. Look, here's the thing: if you're not going to give me action, you have to give me character study.
Hmm.
I got nothing from these characters. It was all surface level.
I wanted more like a Bonnie and Clyde thing. Like I thought that's what we are getting, like a Bonnie and Clyde sort of thing. But it is what it is. For what it is, I like the courthouse stuff though.
Yeah, I you know, one of the things I was excited about for this movie is like, oh, we're going to get a Harvey Dent.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, do you know how easy it would have been to make half of his face screwed up in the explosion?
It was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. When the
Didn't
explosion when it happens, yeah, half of his face is it's not like destroyed, but it's a little messed up.
did not even register.
It's really subtle, but it's there.
Okay. And
Because
I
I
was like,
actually
because
like
I
the
was
Harvey
looking
Dent.
for it. He was good. He was,
Harvey is a big deal for me, so I was really happy to see him.
yeah. I'll take any Harvey I can get,
Yeah,
Two
I'm
Faced or otherwise.
just give me Harvey. This guy was
I
really
think,
young looking,
yeah,
but it worked.
like he's my favorite Batman villain,
Hmm.
Two Face. So it's like because you start reading Batman, once you get to the Long Halloween, everything changes for you as a Batman fan. So Harvey Dent's just my guy, but I don't know that explosion too. It was like everything goes quiet and slow, and I'm just like, what? That is the worst thing you can do. This whole movie's been quiet and slow.
I feel like they were trying to mimic the explosion from The Dark Knight. Remember when Joker gets the phone call?
Yeah,
I feel like
didn't
that's what
work,
they were trying to mimic.
but it's poor mimicry then.
Oh yeah, I didn't say it was good, but that's what it reminded me. The explosion is not one of my favorite things either, but I don't dislike it. Most of my problems are really with the first hour of the movie.
Yeah. Well, the first hour of the movie was entirely. The only thing of note was that TV interview thing.
Hmm.
That was it. That was literally it.
I like that.
Um,
I did like the conversations between Arthur and Harley.
there were a couple.
Yeah, I did like, except for the escape thing, that was not for me.
Okay, I like the escape thing, and I like the little talking after the music class.
Hmm.
And I thought it was going to lead to something, and then it just led to a very bizarre musical number in front of the TV.
Oh, is that the For Once in My Life thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see, those numbers didn't work for me at all because
They
they're
didn't.
not. They're just
They
odd.
weren't there yet. No, they weren't
Right.
there yet. Like, is Joker so devoid of love that that's love for him? I.
I've seen people say, "Well, that's the point," and again, that's fine, but I'm
But you
not.
have to give me another scene or two to get me there.
Yeah, you got to give me a little bit more, or make what we have count more. Because I get it. He was a depressed individual. Any kind of affection has loved him. I get it. When the cop gives him a cigarette, that's some kind of affection. I understand. But I also feel like, and this is going. I don't. I hate to keep comparing it to the first one, but the first one, he doesn't need anybody at the end. He just shot Arthur Murray in the face.
Yeah.
He's his own man now. That was the point.
Yeah,
And
get what you
then,
deserve.
yeah, and it's a cool scene. But to go from
And
that
there
to
was a
this just
point to
doesn't make
it.
sense.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my bigger problems with the
Yeah.
film as a whole. It doesn't feel like a continuation. It feels like another. Um, is it fair to say another take?
No, I see. My thing is, it was a courtroom movie that put the first movie on trial rather than going through anything else. It was a
Okay.
rehashing. It was a soft rehashing because they didn't. Because the first one to me was an evolution. The first one to me was evolving into the Joker,
Yeah.
taking power. A man who was ignored by society, which the first one hit hard on
Hmm.
the failings of society, people falling through the cracks, powerless people taking power and reclaiming their identity. That one had a strong message, whether it was good or not. It had a strong point. It knew what it wanted to do. This movie was a rehashing of the first one without any of the substance. It was just hey, by the way, this is what happened the last time. It was basically like a 2 hour last movie on Joker.
Kind of, yeah. But it was missing the substance to it. I agree, and the idea that people only want the Joker. I understand that it's an interesting view on things. I get that, but at the same time, what else are they supposed to root for? They don't know Arthur.
Yeah.
And the point of the first one, again, he started a movement. So I don't know. Like maybe I didn't get it either. Maybe we're both in the same boat.
Yeah, so my problem here, Chris, is this movement could have been another, it could have been another thing. It
Hmm.
could have been another point of the movie. So when they break him out of the courthouse, it could have been this whole rioting thing, and they could have di dived into the characters around it and like why they did it and
Yeah.
what why they cared about the Joker. And they, it was just too, it honestly, it was just three teenagers like, can you believe we did that? Um, you know, I I don't understand it. I literally, my brother when he was in high school had a friend who would get really wild,
Hmm.
and like we drove by cornfields, and he's like, get real close," and he pulls a corn stalk out, and it's like, "Yeah, I pulled the corn stalk." That was kind of what the two people who blew up the like rescue the Joker. That was kind of what they reminded me of.
They got like,
Yeah, I got the corn suck. I don't even know if they had anything to do with the bomb.
I think they. I think it was said that they did. I think it was just
Okay,
them though.
but it's just struck me as high school kids going, "Yeah, I got the corn stalk."
I think.
It's nothing.
I think again, there was a way to do this and make it have more of an impact if they would have taken less focus on Arthur. I think that's the thing. The movie didn't need
But
to be.
Arthur didn't even do anything.
Well, that's what I mean. We didn't need to focus solely on Arthur for this one because we had Lady Gaga, who was
Agreed.
kind of at the face of this movement in a way.
It could have been the outside. There's a real possibility for it to be the outside of the Joker, what the Joker caused,
Right.
what this means for society. You could have done all they cared about was the Joker.
And
They
they
didn't make that movie.
and they did give Harley the psychological background once it was actually revealed. She did have that. So you could have played against that with having her do interviews, but you don't. You mentioned that she speaks out for him. We see it once, I think, when she's arguing with the lawyer, but that's it.
Yeah,
There was more
but
room
like,
for that, or there
yeah,
could have been more room.
you almost feel like she signed on because that's what she thought she was doing.
I'm so curious about the deleted footage because there's two scenes that we know for sure, which is the
I,
ending and then the other staircase scene with her being pregnant, which
I
amounted to nothing.
we don't even know if she was pregnant.
Yeah, we don't know.
Like
Don't know.
with this, honestly, it could be either way.
Yeah, it could.
She could have just been toying with him, but it's an open-ended question that I don't care about.
Kinda, yeah. And even like the ending itself is oddly ambiguous. Like I thought it was one thing, and then I've heard other people say it wasn't that way.
I have seen people saying it's setting up that guy who kills him to be the Joker.
Well, yeah, that part sure, but
I don't see it, but
I mean, it's a world we're never going to see again. So if that's the case, cool. If not, cool again. But the thing that caught me is I wasn't sure because I thought the guards had him do that, but then I saw other people say no, he just did it on his own.
no, I think the guards had him do it. The guards
That's how
hate
I read it.
Arthur. The guards are like, "Oh, you think you think you're better than me? Okay, well, you know,
Just kill him.
you
And
don't."
the other thing I didn't get that people were talking about was the rape thing. I didn't get that at all.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, that went like completely over my head if that's what happened. To me, that doesn't even, I don't even get why they would do that or how, that doesn't.
I that one I agree that I didn't pick up on that at all. And then after the fact, I'm like, wait, really?
Yeah, now we're two then
Uh,
because I didn't get that.
yeah. The other the editing of this movie is what I have a real problem with.
Hmm.
Not only did they mute just about every musical moment and like cut it short, but like the beginning of this, did I really need to see him walking out of the rain? Did I really need to see him getting shaved? Did I really need to see that process of him just moving across Arkham with no point to it,
In
setting up
almost
no
real time.
story, setting up no exactly, and setting up no characters? Like maybe you could argue guard who gives him the cigarette and sets up the Harley thing. Maybe that's exposition for that, but you didn't need to make it real time with all those other people and all those stops
No,
to
and
get to that point.
it's stuff like that and the non big set musical pieces that drag the movie down as far as like the pacing goes. Because I thought that
Hmm.
too. Like, why are we seeing this whole thing? I get that maybe these are important things we should see, but I feel like there was a faster way to do it.
2 hours and 18 minutes. How long do you think this movie should have been?
That's a dangerous question to ask me because I wouldn't even made the thing.
10 minutes could have done it. No,
I think 2 hours. That extra 18
I
minutes is fluff. And I would
I
have
think an
also,
hour 45 could have been really easy to do.
yeah. And I also would have divvied up the time to different stuff. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had him crying in his cell or whatever. I would have had more Harley. I wouldn't even had the other lawyer, I think.
Did you know what? You know what I think would have saved so much of this movie if he would have just had his laugh at all. Like
Does he not
he,
laugh
he
at all?
in the beginning of the movie, he's medicated
Oh,
and
you
there's
know
almost
what?
no laughter.
They
And
kind
then in
of
the courthouse, there's almost no laughter.
skate over the idea that he had the laughing problem too.
Yeah. And so it was the most interesting part of the first one was it was a medical condition that made him laugh at inappropriate times and it hurt him every time he laughed. It was interesting. You took a character detail that I actually sank my claws into
Mm.
and you said, nah.
That's why it just doesn't feel like a continuation. It just feels like a separate beast that is what it is.
You know, I would say it is Folie Do, A Shared Delusion is about Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix. It's their
Hmm.
shared delusion. It has nothing to
That
do with the
this movie needed
characters.
to be made.
Well, Warner Brothers and Todd Phillips. I don't. First off, Warner Brothers is like this made $1 billion. Like, how is there's not someone at Warner Brothers saying, "Can we just be happy that we got $1 billion and just be done?"
No, I mean I get it. I do. The movie made $1 billion. It got an Oscar. If you have an idea for a sequel, I mean it's the same studio that was going to make Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. So
What?
you're gonna chase the dollar. I get that completely. That but
Uh,
I also think at the same time when it comes to a franchise or a sequel, you got to have an idea. And when you look at Todd Phillips' track record with sequels, the Hangover trilogy, it's not the best track record. I do like all three Hangover films, but if we're gonna, rank them real quick, two is
it,
not the same.
it would probably be 1, 3, 2.
Right, that's my
Uh,
ranking too. And three
yeah.
only happened because like, okay, I screwed up. I gotta fix it. And in some people's
Look,
eyes, he made it worse.
look. I liked the Hangover movies,
Yeah, I do too.
but whoever thought the pretentious film bro would be Todd Phillips, the from the
Right?
guy who brought you the Hangover.
Old school.
Uh,
The guy brought us old school, and he's the one sitting in a tower right now. They just don't understand.
hey, all I gotta say, Todd, you're not my boy, Blue.
You know what? That is perfect.
Look, Old School is one of my favorite movies. I will say, Old School is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, you guys
It's a
like
movie.
war game,
Yeah,
not war games. What is it? War
War
dogs.
Dogs.
I love war dogs.
Yeah, that was a good movie, and the music in that was actually ridiculously good
Hmm.
too.
War
I
dogs
don't
is
know
great.
why that's like the thing that sticks out for me, but like it really was. But like it's a good movie. Good point. I just can't imagine this is the guy who's like, I'm gonna make the most pretentious, polarizing films of all time.
When you get the chance. In a way, and this is something I was saying about earlier. If you look at the Penguin TV series, the Penguin TV series is like a better version of what Todd Phillips is trying to do with the Joker.
Yeah, very much actually.
Because the Penguin series
It's
isn't
different, but
overtly
it's
comicky.
yep, no.
It's in the world. It makes Oswald Cobblepot or Oz Cobb, whatever we're gonna call him right now.
I refuse to call him Ozcom.
Yeah, I don't want to either.
I don't.
He's
No.
Oz. I'll call him Oz though. Oz is fine.
I'll call him Oz. I will not
Oz,
call him Cal.
Ozzy, that works. It makes him real. It makes this world
Hmm.
real, which is what Todd Phillips wanted to do with Arthur, and he does that in the first one. He doesn't succeed in the second one, I think.
And you know what? He recreates the Falcone thing so well with Sophia
Mm-hmm.
and her interaction in this last episode. Oh my God.
Oh, it was great.
What they do with the Falcone family is just chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm.
It like, but like there's homages to the comics. Like there's like you're in that world. It's like, and it they very strongly episode 3 connects to the Batman film.
Yeah, it does.
So at no point does it like stick its nose up at what it's doing. It just isn't like, by the way, this is a comic book film. Because you
Yeah.
can't really make a comic book film about a guy who has an umbrella.
No. But the thing with Joker is, and the character in general, I mean, you can tell a story like what Todd Phillips did because the Joker, he can lend himself to that. We've seen it with like the Killing Joke. We've seen it
Hmm.
with the Brian Azzarello book Joker. You can make him a real human, but what you do with him is going to be the thing that decides his fate here. And in this
Yeah.
movie, it's a weird hodgepodge of ideas. Some work, some don't. It is what it is.
And even with those different interpretations of Joker, there's hit or miss. For
Hmm.
example, with the Brian Azzarello Joker, I like Joker. I hate Batman Damned. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I think it's one of the worst comic books I've actually ever read. Um,
I Yeah, it's not for me. I don't like
yeah,
Clown at Midnight from my mind went blank completely. Clown at Midnight was from the the writer who introduced Damien. I don't know why my mind is
Grant Morrison.
yes, Grant Morrison.
Yeah,
I had a total brain fart just now. Grant Morrison wrote Clown at Midnight, which was a Joker story that used non-traditional comic book art. It was like it looked like PS1 graphics.
really.
Yes, I
I
hate
have to
that
look
book.
into this.
It's one of my least favorite Joker stories ever. He looks like a Who
Well,
from Who.
while we're on the line of this, Death of the Family, from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, one of my favorite Joker stories, where he's got the face torn off and like he
Hmm.
wraps it back on. Endgame from Joker Endgame from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't like.
you
I
know.
don't really
Oh,
like it.
I love that story.
See, and you know what the worst part about it is? I'm reading it thinking I should love this. Why don't I like this? I don't.
It's got one of my favorite Batman Joker interactions ever. When the Joker's dying, and Batman's
Mhm.
like, "No, I'm going to stay with my friend," and they die together essentially.
Yeah, it
Something
is.
about that just it works for me.
There was something so anticlimactic and overdramatic about
It was
it. It just
overdramatic.
that it didn't like when I read it, I just didn't. I closed it and was like, I'm not satisfied here.
Well,
But
I think also like we see Batman die, we know he's not dead.
right, that might have been and then you go into the robot Jim Gordon,
The
and
Bat
then it's
Bunny,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't need it. Um, don't need it.
that's fair.
But interesting idea. Went on a little too long, but yeah, and if we're gonna go mechanized Batman, John Paul Valley is the way to go, and
Yes,
he's horrible, but it's cool.
I kind of like him.
Like it's a really I like Nightfall.
Yeah,
We might actually just have to have a podcast where we just get together and talk Nightfall because I fucking love that shit. But but the movie at hand, I don't know if there's anything else to say. Do you have anything else?
um, no, I mean, like I said, I like some stuff. I dislike some stuff. For me, it's just okay. If I don't think I'll ever like put it on again, and that's fine.
I
I'd,
don't.
I'd rather just wait and see whatever the new Joker looks like in the gun stuff, or in
So
Reeves' book.
So out of 10, what would you give this movie?
Ooh. If I have to stick a number on it, I'm gonna go like a 6
Okay.
out of 10. 6 crying Arthurs out of 10.
Six characters out of 10. I'm gonna go 2.5 Crying Arthurs out of 10. I don't like the film. I will never watch it again, ever. It's not happening. It's to me. I think this and Madam Web should be locked away in a vault and never opened again.
I can't go with you there because I'm going to stand out here and say I don't hate Madam Web, and I would rather watch Madam Web 3 times over than this again. And like I said, I
Well, I
still give
agree.
the 6
I
out of
actually agree with that
10
part.
crying
I actually
Arthurs.
I actually agree with Madam Web over this. And really the thing is, I can watch Madam Web and hate watch it and like kind of like joke about like the things I don't like about it.
It's got cool
Because
action, and the lines are so
yeah,
ridiculous they're funny. Like the ending is hilarious to me.
like I think the funniest scene in all of cinema, and just calling it cinema is a stretch, is when lay low, lay low, don't make a scene. This is standing on a table singing Britney Spears "Toxic" in a diner.
Out of all things, out of
It's like
all things,
how, like how did we even get there? And it's like it is. I'm in the theater and nobody's laughing. I'm just dying. I'm dying because it was hilariously stupid.
that's what I was like during the ending when she's like, "I can see better than I ever have." It's hilarious.
It's like a third grader wrote that.
It-
A third grader wrote that line. There's no way.
this
There's
movie is
no
like
way.
if you would have released it in the early '90s, I think it would have killed.
Oh yeah,
This would have been like close to Oscar nominated or something in the
dude.
early
If you
'90s.
if you released this opposite of Batman and Robin, you would have sold so many action
So
figures.
many action figures. Yes, you would have made
You would have
stars
had
out of
like the
all these
Madam Web like
actresses.
suit and the Sydney Webb, Sydney Sweeney like suit. It would have been like
People have even excused the villain's dialogue not matching his mouth.
They wouldn't even notice it back then. They
No,
wouldn't even notice it back then.
oh, this is great. Why does
You
he
know,
want? It doesn't matter why he wants to kill the girls. This is awesome.
we were just having a conversation about the Raimi Spider-Man movies, and it's funny because I grew up not really realizing that, not really realizing that he didn't. The organic web swingers was like new for the movie.
I
Like
didn't know that
I
either.
and but see the thing is, I kind of grew up on that, and I was like, I retrospectively, I was like, that's cooler than like making the web slingers to me.
Oh, by the way, I grew up with Spider-Man from the '90s cartoon, and he had the webbing capsules or whatever they were. So I was used to
Yeah,
that. But when he did it the organic, I was like, oh, is this the way it is in the comics too? I don't know.
yeah. But
So I
see,
go
they
either
were
way.
so afraid. They were so afraid to like have like the tech there
Well, there is a
in
version
that
where he has
movie.
the web shooters. You could see it in one of the deleted scenes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I guess it didn't
Um,
work for them when they actually tried it, but I don't know.
all right. So one last question about Joker, Paul. You do.
Yes,
Where does Joaquin Phoenix rank for you on Joker actors?
dead last. He is not the Joker to me. And I said I felt that way after the first one too. He is not the Joker. He's not a Joker. He's just a clown. And I don't mean
Yeah.
like oh he's a stupid. No, he's a random clown.
See, I've got competition for dead last because Jared Leto.
I like Leto. I don't think he's terrible.
I'm gonna put Joaquin Phoenix as dead last, but it's with the caveat that Jared Leto actually got to do Joker things.
Yeah. If let's say Joaquin Phoenix got a role like Ledger in The Dark Knight, like that kind of Joker role,
I could see him killing it,
I could see him Ledger level without even breaking a sweat.
but you couldn't see. But see, there's the thing. I could not see Jared Leto giving an amazing performance.
Oh, really?
Did you know that? Yeah, no, I couldn't see him giving an amazing performance as Joker.
No. I thought he would.
Like,
I really anticipated him to be amazing because he's a great actor. So, like, oh, he's gonna kill it.
no, I will give you that he's a good actor. I actually do like him as an actor. Hate him as a Joker.
That's fair.
Hate him as a Joker. He was in a really good movie with was it Denzel Washington, and it was like a cop movie.
Oh yeah, that
What was
like
that?
serial killer movie that
It
came
was on
out.
like Netflix or yeah,
It came out during COVID, so it went straight to
yeah.
Max. I forgot what it was
Okay,
called.
that's what it
Was it called
was.
The Little Things?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, that was cool.
he was good in that movie.
He's good
Um,
in pretty much everything that I've seen him in. Like Requiem for a Dream was probably the first time I saw him in anything, and
mhm.
he's fantastic in it.
Well, I mean, I guess it's Morbin time.
It is Morbin time.
But yeah, yeah, that's basically all I got for Joker Folie and Deux. I'd be lying if I had anything else.
It'll do.
There we go. Chris, you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yes, you guys can follow me on Twitter at thatchris70. I do a bunch of different stuff. You could just find it on there.
And I highly recommend you do so. It's good stuff. With that, this has been Elseworlds, a DC fan podcast. Have no fear. Jordan Wigand is going to be back for the next episode. We actually have a lot of fresh content out. And this week we are going to record our Superman and Lois and Penguin talk still. So we were supposed to do that yesterday. Then we scheduled it to tomorrow. Things happen. But super excited about that. Yeah. And by the way, if you're not watching Superman and Lois, I don't know what to tell you. It's just the best show on TV. The Penguin's pushing it actually, but it's. All right. With that, I will bid you all adieu.